Most men think rejection is the worst thing that can happen. But this is worse. It's when she never texts you first, yet she never disappears either. She stays close enough to keep hope alive, but far enough to never give certainty. You wake up and check your phone. Nothing. No good morning, no message, no sign that you crossed her mind. So you tell yourself, maybe she's busy, and you send the first text. Again. She replies later. Short, polite, just enough to keep the door open. And that's what slowly breaks you. Not rejection, but emotional suspension. You're not losing her. You're just never quite getting her. Your mind keeps asking questions your heart can't answer. Does she care? Am I important to her? Would she notice if I stopped? This pattern creates a quiet kind of anxiety, one that keeps you checking your phone, replaying conversations, and wondering what you did wrong. But here's the truth most men never hear. Her silence isn't random. It's a message. And once you understand what it's really saying, you stop chasing, you stop doubting, and you start taking your power back. She isn't ignoring you because she doesn't feel anything, and she isn't pulling away because she doesn't care. She's doing it because attraction creates emotional risk. When a woman feels something growing, especially with a man she hasn't fully decided on, her instinct is not always to move closer. Often, it's to create distance. That distance gives her a sense of control. It protects her from feeling too vulnerable, too attached, or too exposed. So instead of texting first, she waits. Instead of reaching out, she lets you come to her. Not because she wants to hurt you, but because it feels safer to receive than to invest. And on your side, something equally powerful is happening. When she pulls back, uncertainty enters. When uncertainty enters, your mind starts racing. You begin filling the silence because silence feels like loss. So you text, you check in, you try to keep the connection alive. Without realizing it, both of you fall into a silent agreement. She gets emotional attention without taking emotional risk. You get emotional hope without emotional security. That's the trap. She stays because the attention feels good. You stay because the potential feels real. But potential without mutual effort slowly turns into quiet frustration. And the longer this pattern continues, the more power shifts away from you. This is not about who is right or wrong. It's about understanding the invisible dynamic that's been controlling the connection from the start. Most men think texting is just communication, but in situations like this, it quietly becomes something else: power. Because the person who reaches out first is not just sending a message, he is investing emotional energy. And the person who waits, they receive that energy without spending any of their own. When you are always the one starting conversations, checking in, or keeping things alive, you're unconsciously telling her something very specific. I need this connection more than you do. You might not mean that. You might not feel weak. But dynamics are built on behavior, not intention. The more you initiate, the more she relaxes. The more she relaxes, the less urgency she feels to move toward you. Why would she? The connection already comes to her. This creates a quiet hierarchy. You chase the connection, she evaluates it, and as long as that continues, you will always feel slightly unsure, while she feels emotionally comfortable. That imbalance is what creates anxiety on your side and indifference on hers. It's not because she's heartless, it's because human beings value what requires effort. And right now, you're making it far too easy for her to keep you without ever having to choose you. When a woman never texts first, most men make the same mistake. They try to fill the silence. They wake up, see nothing from her, feel a small wave of discomfort, and immediately send a message. Not because they had something important to say, but because the silence made them uneasy. And every time you do that, you teach her something powerful. She doesn't have to try. She doesn't have to initiate. She doesn't have to invest, because you will always show up. Silence is supposed to create awareness. But when you rush to cover it with attention, it loses all meaning. Think of it like this. If someone gets something for free every day, they stop valuing it. Not because it isn't good, but because it costs nothing. Your attention is the same way. When you give it freely to someone who isn't giving anything back, You quietly lower its value. You train her to expect your presence without earning it. So the first shift is not to become cold or angry, it's to become still. If she doesn't reach out, you don't rush to fix the silence. You let it exist, not to punish her, but to protect yourself. Because silence only becomes powerful when you stop trying to escape it. And in that space, something important happens. Either she steps forward, or you finally see that she never planned to. Both outcomes give you clarity, and clarity is always better than quiet confusion. Most men believe that if they give more, they will receive more. More texts, more attention, more effort. But attraction doesn't grow through overgiving. It grows through balance. When you send long messages and she replies with short ones, when you check in often and she responds hours later, when you keep the conversation alive and she barely keeps it going, you are no longer connecting. You are compensating. And compensation always comes from fear. Fear of losing her, fear of being forgotten, fear that if you stop trying, the connection will disappear. But that fear is exactly what weakens your position. Women can feel when a man is reaching out from confidence and when he's reaching out from need. And nothing quietly pushes a woman away faster than the sense that she is responsible for your emotional stability. So the rule is simple: match what she gives. If she texts with warmth, respond with warmth. If she is playful, be playful. If she is distant, don't chase her shadow. You don't punish her. You don't confront her. You just let the energy be honest. This does two powerful things. If she's truly interested, she will lean in and match you back. If she isn't, her low effort becomes obvious without a single argument. Matching energy isn't about playing games. It's about standing in your self-respect and allowing her to reveal where she really stands. And that's when the dynamic begins to shift. There is a moment every man knows too well. You send a message, then you wait. Your phone is on the table. Your mind is on the screen. Every vibration makes your heart jump, and every minute without a reply quietly tightens your chest. This is where you start losing control. When her reply determines your mood, she unknowingly holds power over your emotional state. A fast response makes you feel valued. A slow response makes you feel uncertain. And no one can feel attractive or confident while living inside that emotional roller coaster. Here's the truth most men never realize. Her reply is information, not validation. It tells you how engaged she is, not how worthy you are. When you start treating her messages as data instead of emotional approval, everything changes. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes. You stop reading into every pause. You stop letting silence create stories in your head. And when you are no longer emotionally dependent on her responses, something powerful happens. You become grounded. You become calm. You become steady. And women are drawn to emotional stability far more than emotional urgency. So shift your focus back to your life, your goals, your work, your health, your friendships. Let your days be full enough that her reply becomes a small part of your world instead of the center of it. When you control your emotions, you control the frame of the connection, and that's where real attraction lives. Most men believe they will lose a woman if they pull back, but in reality, many men lose women because they never do. When you are always available, always texting, always checking in, she never gets the chance to feel what it's like to not have you. And if she never feels that contrast, she never truly appreciates your presence. Desire is created by space. Think about anything you value in life: time, freedom, success. You only understand its worth when it's not always there. The same applies to attention and emotional availability. When you flood a woman with constant messages and reassurance, you remove the opportunity for her to miss you. She doesn't have to wonder about you. She doesn't have to feel curiosity. She doesn't have to reach out. You've already filled every gap for her. So when you stop overgiving, something important happens. The space you create forces her to feel the difference. If she values you, she will step forward into that space. If she doesn't, the silence will remain. And that silence is not a punishment. It is information. Absence doesn't push away the right woman. It reveals whether she was ever there in the first place. You're not disappearing to make her chase you. You're stepping back to see if she ever planned to meet you in the middle. And whatever she does next will tell you everything you need to know. One of the most confusing situations a man can be in is this. She never initiates, but she always responds, just enough to keep you hoping, just enough to keep you guessing. So you keep being the one who starts the conversation. You keep making the plans. You keep carrying the emotional weight. And all the while, you're wondering if she actually cares or if she just enjoys the attention. The only way to find out is to stop filling the space for her. Testing her interest doesn't mean playing games or acting cold. It means removing your effort long enough to see what she does without it. You stop being the first to text. You stop being the one who always follows up. You stop keeping the connection alive on your own. Then you observe. Does she notice? Does she reach out? Does she try to close the distance? Or does she stay silent, comfortable with letting everything fade? If something disappears the moment you stop carrying it, it was never mutual to begin with. This is not about losing her. It's about discovering the truth. And the truth, even when it's quiet, is far more powerful than false hope. At some point, the real issue stops being her silence. The real issue becomes what you are willing to accept. When you continue investing in someone who gives you little to nothing back, you are not acting out of love. You are acting out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear that this is the best you can do, and fear slowly lowers your standards. You begin to excuse her lack of effort. You tell yourself she is busy, unsure, or not good at texting. You protect your hope instead of protecting your self-respect. But here is the truth. A woman who values you does not make you feel invisible. She does not leave you guessing. She does not require you to prove your worth through endless effort. When you accept less than you deserve, you teach yourself to feel grateful for crumbs. Raising your standards does not mean becoming demanding or cold. It means becoming honest. Honest about how much you are giving. Honest about how little you are receiving. Honest about whether this connection actually feels mutual. Your standards are the filter that determines who gets access to your time, your energy, and your heart. When you raise them, the wrong women fade away, and the right ones step forward naturally. Because the right woman does not need to be chased into caring. She shows it. Everything you've heard today was never really about making her text you. It was about something far more important, getting yourself back. When you stop rewarding silence, when you stop chasing energy that isn't matching yours, when you take back control of your emotions instead of handing them to a phone, you become a different kind of man. A man who is grounded, a man who is steady, a man who does not beg for space in someone's life. Her silence no longer feels like rejection. It becomes information. It tells you how invested she is, so you no longer have to guess, overthink, or hope. You stop trying to fix what isn't broken. You stop forcing what was never mutual, and you stop confusing potential with reality. Because the truth is simple. The right woman does not need to be convinced to care. She does not make you feel unsure. She does not require endless effort just to stay present. She meets you in the middle. Your value was never defined by how long you could hold on to someone who gave you little back. It is defined by how willing you are to walk away when you are not being respected. That is what confidence really is. That is what self-worth looks like. And that is what changes every future relationship you will ever have. You are not here to chase silence. You are here to embody value. And when you do, the right people will find you without being forced.